the former company secretary and the head of legal, Suzanne Daniels, giving incredible testimony, saying that she was offered a 800 million rand bribe by Gupta associate Salim Issa. She also says she was told in advance that executives would be suspended. She was even asked by Issa, how do you suspend a board? And she said something to the effect that the Guptas, she realized, were running the country. But some skepticism from Zondo himself to what she was saying, that there was a meeting even after she was offered that bribe. Let's see if he's up on the line to discuss. We're joined by investigative journalist at the Mail and Guardian, Sabelo Skiti. Sabelo, if you can hear me, to what extent does the testimony today, if taken at face value, show the interference of the Guptas?
Yes, good evening, Francis. Good evening to the viewers. So it was a very interesting sort of testimony coming out today, the whole day. Suzanne Daniels, someone who's no stranger to us in the media fraternity. I think a lot of my colleagues and I are still stuck between whether, she's a whistleblower and someone that, stood for rights at Eskom, or maybe she's someone that, can be found wanting in the entire process. But a lot of her testimony today, I think, spoke largely to what we'd heard in the last week, of course, with the appearance of Sediso Matona, Zola Tsotsi, as well as Ben Ngubane. Also reiterating basically information around the suspension of the 4 executives at Eskom and just how central the Gupta family was to that. Of course, we'd heard, information going as far as the president, for instance, and as far as Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown. But Suzanne's testimony places Salim Issa at the center of this. Salim, of course, at some stage was an advisor to Lynn Brown. And then, of course, the Gupta brothers in that meeting that Suzanne Daniels says she was offered 800 million rand.
Sabelo, we seem to have lost you there. Could you give us the context to this 800 million rand bribe, an incredible amount, and why Zondo himself was scathing about a meeting she held afterwards with Issa?
Yeah. So I think, number one, the bribe in itself is basically, I think this is now the Guptas, after they had engineered the suspension of the executives. They would then need to find a way that would bring back the preferred man. Suzanne and other members, former people at Eskom, would have us believe that this is Machela Koko. So that 800 million is basically to facilitate the return of Koko to Eskom, where presumably he would come in as acting CEO. And then that would basically open, the gates for the Guptas to come in and loot. Where, the Deputy Chief Justice had a difficulty, and I think I also had a very, very big difficulty. Number one, with the fact that as company secretary and the head of legal, you are fully versed with, the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, which makes it a requirement that when someone tries to induce you as a public official or as a civil servant to do corruption, you have a duty to report that to law enforcement. So this is the company secretary, basically the highest statutory legal position at Eskom, advises the board on legal matters. You're also acting as the head of legal. So you're basically advising the entire organization on legal matters. And you don't see the need to report this to anyone internally or to any law enforcement authorities. And not only that, you then continue to entertain calls from the same people, who offered you this bribe, to the point of even on a weekend going to meet one of them, at Melrose Arch. So it boggles the mind, when someone says that, they were seemingly caught in a place where everyone around them was bad. But has absolutely nothing, to get out of that, and instead is found in instances where they are with these people.
Yeah, and she said she was incredibly curious, but Zondo rejected that out of hand. All right, thank you very much, investigative journalist at the Mail and Guardian, Sabelo Skiti. With that, let's recap tonight's top stories.